Two drunk assholes talking about whatever comes to mind. We present Filler with Jack Fike and Rob Harper. Filler is Jack and my insane rambling. In this episode of Filler, we start off talking about racial diversity and end up talking about superhero movies as always. Please do note that we are extremely drunk during these recordings, so if we do sound like unintelligent fools, just forgive us.
The characters through their eyes, so like they want to have a when you're reading, you empathize with the character. You want to, you're seeing through them. You feel for them.
For diversity, you're saying?
Yeah, like eventually, the more diverse the readers are, the more you have to meet that demand. Yeah. You can't all have.
Well, I think they just ignored all the comics were written by white Jewish guys, and they kind of ignored minorities. Well, that's the thing. Like Marvel is kind of known for being more diverse, but started in DC with Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, those in the 70s with Neil Adams and stuff doing really racially charged issues and drug abuse issues, and that's where it started. But Marvel's just yeah, that's right, and then DC's no, we better step away from that. That's getting a little too cray.
Well, I remember there was lots of ethnic people in the comic books when I was reading as a kid.
As the heroes?
No, they were all the villains.
That's right, that's the thing.
But with that being said, no, they were heroes as well. But
the main one, Batman, Superman, Aquaman, they're all white.
Probably, mostly white white boys were reading the comic book.
I think they ignored the minority vote.
But I do remember even after a time, it was still okay to make a villain ethnic and kind of give him the Mandarin. I remember when he was hanging, he had the Fu Manchu mustache and the
super Asian.
Yeah, it was
what was that old cereal back in the 20s or whatever, the Doctor, what is it?
I don't know.
What is it? There's famous really racist cereals.
There's plenty of those.
But it was all about Asians in the East End of London, stuff like that. Anyways, Mandarin. Oh yeah, it's Black Manta for Aquaman.
But mantas are black.
Yeah, but he's black.
I don't know for sure because I've never been an Aquaman reader.
You think that's a new thing? I don't think so.
I don't know if Black Manta was black. He had a black-esque voice, but
he was black.
It was never
cartoons.
Yeah, but did you ever see him take the helmet off?
In Injustice, Young Justice, he did.
Yeah, but that Young Justice 2 years ago, Black Manta being around for 20 years.
I'm pretty sure even the comic books he was still black. I'm sure they showed him.
I don't even know if the voice actor who played him in the
I'm not
original
talking about
80s was black.
Probably not. They probably didn't employ black people back then.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know if it was even a thing. It was if you want to, in your mind, if you're thinking, he's black.
But I think in the comics, I think he had taken off his mask and he was black.
See, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't know when that happened.
And I'm pretty sure I prefaced that by saying, in the comics, I didn't read them. Yeah. But in the TV shows.
But the comics were before then, I think. I'm trying to think, but look at, Batman villains. They're all white. Is there any non-white Batman villains? I can't think of one.
Well, because they all grew up in the same small town of Gotham all together.
Yeah, there's no black people in Gotham.
Yeah,
and they all grew up together.
So, and they all interacted with each other right from the get-go, which the Gotham TV show apparently is going to show us.
Yeah.
But then, of course, there's going to be no diversity in it.
Flash? Any black villains? Or any black people in Flash's life? I don't think so. Green Arrow, they added Diggle for some diversity.
Well, in the show, they're going to have Iris, obviously, her father.
In the show, I'm saying.
And I'm wondering if the character, that his father figure type character in the comics was black.
I don't know if even that character existed.
I don't know either.
I don't know. I've read Flash sporadically, and I think the Flashes I read were Wally West Flash. It's not Barry Allen. I think by the time I read Flash, Barry Allen was already gone. Because he died in Infinite Crisis. Or Crisis in Infinite Earths, I mean.
Yeah.
So that was 1985, so I wasn't reading comics. I probably had older comics when, you'd always collect old ones. But
yeah.
So when I was reading comics, it was after that. So it was probably Wally West I was reading. So it's totally different.
Yeah.
And, let's see, DC's a white bread comic industry.
Yeah, I can probably drag out the comics, because I know
that's why, Suicide Squad is cool. They had Bronze Tiger, and they had a lot of Amanda Waller herself.
Yeah.
They had some diversity going there, but that was That was the 80s, once again.
But I've got some like the Justice League, the Legion of Superheroes, I think it was called.
Oh yeah, Legion. They had some. Yeah,
They had a racially diverse.
yeah, that was much more diverse. But there was also 1,000 characters, so they could get away with it.
Yeah, and some of them were aliens, but I don't think it was as white bread. But at some point,
At least
Batman is white, and that's the character. And no matter how racially diverse you'd want to get, some characters are so iconic that you can't.
Well, you could do a different Batman, like someone else could take over the mantle and have him black. Because obviously Batman's not always, like Bruce Wayne hasn't always been Batman.
No, but I'm saying like.
Well, they did that. I think in the latest Batman Incorporated, there was a black Batman who was in like Africa or something. That's another thing that there was a recent interview with Neil Adams, famous drawer. And he was one who did a lot of racial diversity in the Green Arrow and Batman back in the 70s. And when he invented John Stewart.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, no, I want to make him black. And he's like, okay, we'll try it. And then they're like, they come up with the name. Like he didn't write it. He suggested it. And the writer comes up and he gives him the script. He's like, what the fuck? His name was supposed to be Lincoln Washington or something like that. And he stormed into the writer and writer said, it wasn't me. Went into the editor and was like, what? I know lots of black people with that name. He's like, no, just give him some normal name. Like what? He goes, like John Stewart or something. And then he goes, like, I didn't know it was going to end up being a famous comic years later.
But that writer knew as soon as he stormed in.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, it was Denny O'Neil.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're here for. You just keep walking.
Yeah, he's a great storyteller. I don't know how much is it true, but he's a great storyteller. Neil Adams, he's pretty cool.
Wow.
But there's racial diversity in comics is still not huge. You barely get female comics. Look at the movies. There's been no female movie star.
But here's my thing. I wouldn't go so far as to say that America's racial makeup is adequately shown in comics, because black people are, I think it's like 10% of the population or something.
I think it's like 15%, but still, I don't think 15% of the superheroes are black.
And I'm not going to go so far as to say that it's representative. But yeah, there shouldn't be every character can't be black. They can't be black people everywhere. And I'm not saying that would be a bad thing if they had a black team, because it doesn't represent.
But it just doesn't. It should be more.
I'm just saying
that's almost racist in saying, oh, they got to be segregated.
Yeah, that's got, and so I'm not saying any of those things.
And it's not just black; it's any minority. Really, there's no minorities represented in comic books. Very rare, except for maybe Asians. I think Asians are probably overrepresented because of like ninjas and. It's true, like. But martial artists are overrepresented in comics. But
I will go so far as to say you could always think of minority comic book characters that populate the comic book world, and I don't know if it meets the racial makeup of America, but I do say that outside of the comic book, when you get past the comic book,
the movies and stuff,
the movies are where they've chosen just a few people. A few characters.
Yeah, Marvel's the same. Like Marvel hasn't focused on any other than like Storm is the only African American. Is there any other any minorities in X-Men or Avengers? Avengers are all white people.
Yeah, Avengers is slightly.
Finally, the Falcon in the newest Captain America. Yeah,
the Avengers is different because the roster is designed to move around. And I know.
Yeah, but still, they could have had. That's the thing. Avengers is kind of funny. There isn't many Avengers that are black. Black Panther, was he Avenger? I think he was.
Yes, and he's one of the first Avengers. He
should have been in it. He could be in it easy.
His backstory is a little weird.
He's a king of Wakanda who got he doesn't have to have real powers. He could just be really. He doesn't have to have the power of the Black Panther.
Now he's
got clawed hands.
You have to explain Wakanda. And he's got.
They could have seeded Wakanda into the movies easy, especially in Iron Man movies.
And
I'm amazed they didn't, actually. I found that kind of strange.
I can see why. Yeah, seeding it now would have been good if they had planned
it. I'm amazed they haven't. Maybe they. Yeah, it's weird.
But so track with me here. So far, because they've made Superman, Batman, they're white. They're always going to be white, and you can't screw around too much with the racial.
They made Steel with Shaq.
Yes, that was fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about.
And they made Steel, the Steel movie. You never seen Steel?
No.
It's terrible. You remember Steel, the character Steel from the comics? He's a big hammer. And they made a movie.
When Superman died, and a bunch of people said, "I'm going to take up Superman's."
Shaq made a movie as Steel. You never knew that?
No.
Yeah, there's a movie called Steel.
Unacceptable.
And Halle Berry as Catwoman. Maybe that's why they don't make racial movies. They're terrible.
Yeah, that's just Halle Berry. She's terrible.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That it's once again that's like the thing. Like, well, they're not going to make sci-fi movies because they do bad in the box office. Not because they're bad movies. They just don't do well. There's that so they're going to stop making racial superhero movies because they didn't do good. It's not because they weren't good movies. It's because they're bad or they weren't. They can't be. It's not that there can't be a good racially charged movie.
But so I'm just saying that movies.
I think a Jon Stewart Green Lantern movie would be awesome.
Well, we're going to see on Netflix. We're going to see Power Man. So like
that's true. That's a step forward for sure. And we had Deathlock in at least, but he's a bad guy sort of.
But what I'm saying is, right now, when you make a movie, it has to be an A-list everyone knows, and it just so happens that those A-lists are the oldest characters, and those oldest characters were designed by white people for white kids.
Yeah. That's what I mean. When are they going to move forward? But you're right. Power Man's a step forward. But like, imagine Idris Elba or someone as freaking Black Panther. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing. I'm not calling it a step forward. Like to say that you have to. These characters existed, but I think right now no one's going to make a blockbuster about Power Man.
No, but I mean, like, I'm saying that I think there should be these movies just so it increases the audience. Like, there's all these people that don't have somebody to look up to,
And Black Panther is going to be,
or even women. Like, that's I think they're missing out big by not making a Power Girl movie or a Miss Marvel movie.
Power Girl, you think that's your first poll for
the comic book's supposedly awesome. I wouldn't make her as busty as in the comic books because that's a little cheesecake, but
I hear the new
Miss Marvel,
She-Hulk.
Oh, She-Hulk
is really good.
And the new Miss Marvel is now that Miss Marvel is Captain Marvel. The new Miss Marvel is she's Arab descent, some sort, or Muslim. So that's interesting.
But none of these
you're ticking two boxes with that one.
Yeah, see, you're hooked on that. I'm just saying.
I think I would like to see more diversity, just to increase the population.
It's going to be white because he always.
No, I'm not saying change his character.
When Marvel's done with this juggernaut, this steamroller, they're going to be past the A-lists. Like
they're going to have to start pulling it. They're going to have to do they're doing Doctor Strange. They're going to have to do a Black Panther movie. They're going to have to do.
Yeah, not have to. They're going to be free to.
Yeah.
Because I know there's people clamoring to see a Black Panther movie.
I am. I think Black Panther's an interesting character.
They should have seeded. You're right. You hit the nail on the head.
They should have just kept mentioning Wakanda in these movies. Or where'd you get that shield? What's it made of? It's made of adamantium and vibranium. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're allowed to use the word adamantium. That might be an X-Men word.
Could be, but they do use vibranium, and
that's what shield is vibranium and adamantium.
It was Tony Stark's father who had it. They could have mentioned it there.
Yeah.
Tony Stark could have been. Oh well, if you don't want this technology, I'll sell it to Wakanda.
Yeah,
done. Boom.
Just keep mentioning things like that.
One out of every 3 movies, you make one passing reference.
Yeah, because Black Panther definitely is owned by Marvel. I think it's not owned by someone else. He's never been in anything else.
He's not a mutant.
He's not a mutant. He's not a Fantastic Four person.
And he's been in the Avengers for
they must own him. Yeah.
Because literally except for in the cartoon, they gave him some sort of like psychic claw or psychic dagger that came out of his arms or something. He's
got some Panther powers. Like he's faster than the average person.
Well, his clan is the Panther clan, and
he's the God King of it. He's like the priest, the God priest.
And his clan trains in the martial arts style, Panther style.
But he does have he has like a talisman that gives him, or something that gives him some mojo.
And I know his gloves are tipped with claws,
with vibranium claws. Yeah,
that you can get away with. You could sell that to a movie-going audience today.
Well, that's like I think in the comics, Hawkeye technically has pretty supernatural vision. Doesn't he have like really good vision? I think he's got better vision than a normal human.
That's not outrageous.
Yeah, but that's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying that.
Just saying.
So there's like that. It's not. They have super soldiers. They can have some guy who's got the spirit of Panther in him.
Yeah, but he's not an outrageous character as is. So like it
could definitely work.
It'd be a hard sell to sell Wakanda without some seeding, though.
Yeah, it's just a country.
It's just a country, but someone goes, "Oh, what?"
It'd be like Coming to America with
because it's
he'd just be like, yes, my homeland is Wakanda and I'm a king there, or it could be the prince. I don't think he started off as king.
But eventually you're gonna get, because there's a lot of racial diversity that you're just not gonna see in the movies.
But didn't they talk about Cloak and Dagger? I thought there was some mention of a Cloak and Dagger movie in the works too.
Could be.
Cloak's black.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cloak and Dagger never interested me.
No.
Even their association with X-Men, never really got into Cloak and Dagger.
I,
They had some weird stuff going on. Like there was some like rape and prostitute. Like Dagger was a prostitute, and Cloak saved her. And some really dark stuff going on in that series, especially for when it came out in like the 80s. Yeah, but Power Pack, they're all white kids.
But with that being said, we're going to see more racial diversity. I don't think you need to start pushing agendas in the comic books. There's a lot of...
I just want it just so that, like I say, so it's more inclusive. I'd like more people into the club of superheroism.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you don't have to have a hero that represents your race to like them, obviously.
No, obviously.
Like, I like Americans fine. American superheroes.
Yeah.
I'm not American.
So you would like now that was the minorities of say an ethnic background.
Yeah.
Where, as for women, I think
why isn't there a Wonder Woman movie?
Because no one can write her properly. I think that's.
But read the fucking comic books. They've written her properly at least a few times over the years.
Yeah, well, that's why you've seen a failed TV shows.
Well, look at them. They're nothing like Wonder Woman.
No, and I think
at least the TV show back with Linda Carter was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and
why can't they do that?
It was a bit camp, and it was a bit, but it was still good.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the reason there's not a Wonder Woman movie isn't because someone goes, "That's broad." No one's gonna go see a broad running around. It's because
I think it is.
It's because they give it to a team of writers and they come up with that schlocky garbage that you've seen. They've tried to foist on us multiple times at this point.
Give it to like a female writer.
You know. I've
one of the writers,
I've seen
Amanda Connor or someone.
Fan-made Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that fan-made one was awesome.
I think there's 3 or 4 of them now.
That one where she's on a date with the guy and he doesn't know that she's Wonder Woman, and then they get accosted by thugs, and all of a sudden she starts reflecting bullets with her bracelets and shit.
That one, and there's one where it's Nazi Germany. There's a bunch and it's balls out.
Yeah, that's right. That was a good one too.
It couldn't have been any more like just fearless if she would have flown in on the invisible jet, lassoed a guy, and hurled him into the ocean.
I think I love those fan movies because they prove that things work. Like when they were making before Batman Begins, there was a fan movie with a Batman suit that looked just like the comics, where the Joker looked just like the comics, and it was amazing. And then it was like they prove that you can do it and make it look cool. But the movie people refuse to believe that.
So
they're slowly changing. Obviously, look at Marvel.
So again, I don't believe it's because it's Wonder Woman. I think it's because of the people.
I hope to God the next X-Men movie they take a page out of Avengers and put them in their real uniforms. That'd be so cool.
So sweet.
They do it with Magneto. Magneto pretty much wears his uniform. Why don't they do it with anybody else?
I don't know.
Wouldn't you love to see Wolverine just like?
But you see now, Black Widow is in Captain America 2. She's in the Avengers.
She's got her things too. She's got her wrist things too. In that.
Yeah, the stingers. Which she ends up using to short out that thing in Captain America. Spoilers that they get tricked into hooking onto the lapel.
Yeah.
And then eventually she wakes up because she uses the thing was going to kill her, so she shocked herself in that thing. She stands up and she goes, "Those do sting," and I was like, "Yeah," because they make no mention of the fact that they're called stingers.
What is that? Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, you get it. You get it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Janet's sitting right beside me. It doesn't faze her. But for me, I'm like...
Well, it's like, remember the first time you saw Avengers? Just you're just like wetting yourself because it was just like, thank God they have it all. It's all in here.
The first time I watched the Avengers in the theater 3 times. First time I watched it was in regular, I think, view.
Did you?
Then I took Seth to see it in 3D, and I saw it again in 3D.
I saw it in 3D. I don't know who I saw it with, though.
I went with...
you went with your coworkers first.
Long story short, there was times where I was overcome with emotion.
Yeah.
I cried because...
You're like, as a child, I never thought this would be on the screen.
Never.
You were much more of an Avengers person than I was.
Always. And just, I knew, I kind of went in knowing because of what they do with Iron Man, and I kind of knew back then that...
You didn't know it would come out like that.
They got it, but I didn't know what they...
All the little touches that you're like, they had this.
Little touches, but then all of a sudden the helicarrier starts coming up out of the water. I'm like,
oh yeah, I forgot that was in the Avengers.
A flying helicarrier is coming up out of the water.
Because you're like, oh, they cheapened out. They made it an aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier. Okay, yeah, I guess so. They're not gonna. No one's gonna. And that's when I knew that's when.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon literally just was like, okay, there you go, bitch.
Yeah.
Feast your eyes on this.
And then all these people, that would never work. You fucking idiots. There's gods, there's mutants. None of that would work, you shitheads.
No one in the audience was saying anything other than gasping and applauding when that thing hit the air.
I hate people on the internet. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on any podcast, but people on the internet are whiny bitches and they deserve death.
Yes, the whiny bitches from all four corners.
And
I hate them.
Sometimes I get close to being a whiny bitch and I'm like, I always think, oh wait, I'm going to be like them. Somebody's going to read my post and be like, that person's a whiny bitch, and I don't post it.
That's why I
I'd
don't
be like,
go on the internet.
I figure what I'm thinking because I'm like, yeah, okay, let's look at it from a different angle. I may hate GW or some other thing. I don't have to go online and just spout it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
He was probably the worst president, but, it's good you're not spouting out. Yeah, but...
George Washington?
I was moved by the Avengers because that, and now to say, that now Marvel's doing it right, and
but
it
that
seems,
was
yeah. Oh, well, duh. Hey, Captain Obvious.
Because you're like, Iron Man. Okay, that was amazing. Was it a one-off? Iron Man 2. Oh, maybe it was just the lucky. Then you get Captain America and Thor. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Then Avengers. That just pushed it way up.
Yeah.
You thought before Avengers, you thought Iron Man was kind of a one-off, amazing thing. The other things were fun, but they weren't amazing.
Captain America was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. It touched all the right places, and it actually took elements from the comic book and it married it. And very well done. Iron Man.
As a Canadian, for some reason, I like Captain America a lot.
Oh yeah,
it's because he represents what America should be, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, and
so it's not about patriotism. I find
it's about right and wrong.
It's about ideals.
Yeah, and obviously Iron Man's the perfect movie. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, that movie's. I haven't watched it in a long time, and maybe it's just rose-colored glasses, but I don't think it's so tight, that movie. So, I can't say I haven't watched it in a long time. I probably watched it about a year ago.
So, but when the Avengers showed what they were going to do, Fearless.
Yeah, that was like balls out. Like before that was like, okay, guy has a suit. Okay, Captain America, they kind of did to a nod to the original costume, and then they updated it. Thor, yeah, he's a god, so they put him in. But then they put like the whole team together in their uniforms. It's like, wow, fighting an alien invasion with Loki
and Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, busting out like the best freaking actual acting. Like
just some of the
because they treated the movie legitimately. None of them were like, I'm just here for a paycheck, or no, I'm just this is for kids. They all treated it like it was. They had Veritas.
They were acting the scene with. And I've never been a Scarlett Johansson fan.
I think she's super hot, but she's not the best actress.
She's all right. Like she doesn't do much for me.
Oh, sorry. I just had
a towel?
Incident.
A moist towelette.
Yes.
She doesn't. That scene with her and Loki, where she starts acting like, because that's her thing. She gets into people's heads and she gets information and.
I thought the scene with her and the Hulk was amazing.
Her and the Hulk as well,
because she's like upset and because she realizes this is a superhuman being and I'm just a human.
Where she was all brassy and sassy, and then all of a sudden
you see her real fear.
Yeah, like shit just
especially
got
if
real.
you read the prequel comic book, it really explains it because she was at when the Hulk was fighting at the school. She was there and almost got killed by the Hulk just by mistake because when the military was fighting him in Incredible Hulk. So they in the prequel they kind of seed more stuff in the comic book, and it explains that more why she is so fearful of the Hulk.
So it was well acted. It was well. I'm looking forward to, because speaking of female characters, we're going to see in Guardians of the Galaxy another strong female character. We're going to see.
We see Gamora, and we'll see the girl from Doctor Who is the bad girl.
Yeah,
I can't remember her name. Karen Gillan's her real name, but I can't remember the name of the show in the movie.
No.
And then that should be fun. And there is Russian diversity. There's a raccoon and a tree person.
Yeah.
And whatever Batista is. He's he could be anything, Batista.
Yeah, he's some alien. Like, it's not...
No, I mean in real life. I'm not sure what race he is.
I'm guessing Latin
Drax.
American.
He's Drax the Destroyer. He's the same as... I think he's the same race as Thanos.
But,
well, Gamora's Thanos' daughter.
So... Yeah,
I don't particularly like Zoe Saldana, but she looks pretty cool in that.
And I liked her in
she was kind of cheesy in Avatar. I haven't seen that movie since I saw it in the theaters, though, so I can't really say much. And she was in that The Losers. She was alright in The Losers. That was a good movie.
Losers,
based on a comic book. Harry Dean Morgan as the.
No, never heard of it.
I'm sure you've seen it. You probably just don't remember it. It's like it came out almost the same time as A-Team. It's a very similar kind of movie, but it was actually good. 18, but this was actually cool. If you haven't seen The Losers, you should find it and watch it. It's a good movie. It's based on a comic book.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure you've seen it. You just probably don't remember.
So
it's like me and John Carter.
to wrap around, we're not going to see a Wonder Woman movie because she's poorly written. But Black Widow is a very well established, diverse, established and
deep.
Yeah, like a
fleshed out.
Yeah. There's a D word that's on the tip of my tongue that means that, like it's a developed or something.
Yeah, developed. Yeah.
A well-developed character, and I can see that
they'll make a movie out of it.
There'll be a Black Widow.
Well, they're doing the Sharon Carter TV show, which is cool.
Well, there you go.
Or not Sharon.
Whatever her name is.
Sharon Carter's. Yeah, Sharon Carter's the new one, right? She was in the Captain America movie. That's your granddaughter or something, or grandniece or something.
I don't know.
I can't remember which one's which. Anyways,
either way, I think the characters, the female characters, will start getting once the universe gets big enough that they can allow it to happen. I don't think it's a conscientious effort to keep a female character out of the.
Yeah.
It's where I was going with the Avengers was it's proven that the Black Widow. Is a good character. They should make
a solo movie.
Is well written, and she could hold her own movie. And I think it's been proven to the exact same degree that Wonder Woman, despite her being developed over 70 years, they can't get someone to write a good.
Just get Jeff Johns or someone who's been writing her good forever. That's the point.
Maybe.
Yeah. Speaking of She-Hulk, I think that would work as a TV show, almost like just like a courtroom drama with the She-Hulk, kind of like in her daily adventures. Once in a while, she has to punch a supervillain down. But most of the time, it's just. I think that's what the comic book is. It's just mostly lawyers within the Marvel universe kind of stuff. Yeah. And she could run into Daredevil because he's also a lawyer.
And she just goes through life's trials and tribulations as a female.
But I think that works not so much as a movie, but as a TV show, it'd be cool.
Yeah, it's like Ally McBeal. But every once in a while, I think in that comic, she happens to be green all the time.
Yeah, she is green all the time.
So
she's green. She's always been green all the time. She doesn't change like Bruce because she got a blood transfusion from the Hulk, and she's always been green.
But
and super tall, which is cool.
Yeah, and she's buff and whatnot.
It'd be cool just to get this good actress who's just tall and can be who doesn't mind being painted green the whole time. Nowadays, they probably could do CG. She probably could just be normal skin color, and they just CG every single frame she's in. Probably easier.
Probably easier than trying to do makeup and make sure everything's right. You can't do a CGI anyways. You can't do it in a courtroom because if you paint her face green and then you have any other green screen elements, all of a sudden she'd be like, green. Chroma key makes
her whole body.
Invisible Woman show. It's Sue Storm now.
Speaking of fan films, what about that Punisher one with actually Tom Jane in it? How cool was that?
Yeah, Laundry Day was called.
Laundry Day, yeah. That was... Because Thomas Jane, he's a kooky character, but he really loves comics, and he knows that... As good as... I personally think that Punisher movie's good, other than John Travolta. But he knows that it wasn't as good as it could have been, so he kind of did that fan film just to say, look, this is me as... Yeah. This is what it should have been.
I would say that if you... And he just did that. It's a very short,
It's good 15 minutes, I think.
But it hits all the notes you need to know for Punisher at that stage where he's the most interesting.
And it's just like a day in the life of Punisher.
Yeah.
He's going to do his laundry and shit goes down.
He doesn't want any trouble.
Yeah.
He's lost everything. You can tell he's
always been kind of a homeless kind of person, lives out of a van kind of idea.
Yeah, that's the interesting time of his life. It's not when he was, had the family and the kid or whatever, and it's not when he's. It's right when he's.
Even that in the Punisher movie, they kind of did that where he was just he just moved into this apartment and he was just didn't have much of anything.
As psychologically broken as possible. Yeah.
Feeling the need to get revenge on whoever.
Because he's not well in the head.
He is really like Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider and Punisher are very similar. Ghost Rider is just a supernatural version of Punisher. It's all about vengeance.
Yeah.
That's Punisher just wants to get revenge on everybody for everything. Because he's like you say, he's psychologically broken.
Spawn.
What about Spawn? Oh, he's
movie, black guy.
Yeah, Spawn is when that comic came out, that was pretty. And Shadowhawk when that came out, they're both pretty groundbreaking.
Anyways, that's
a good point. Speaking of that, Valiant Comics is just recently signed a movie deal, so we're gonna get. They're already talking about a Bloodshot movie. Remember that? He's all white. He's got a red dot.
Yeah.
It's neat to have another contender, not just Marvel, DC. You get Dark Horse a little bit with Hellboy movies, but there haven't been one in a long time. Dread sequel. That'd be the best. I can't wait. They will happen eventually. It's just gonna be a while. Especially that Carl Urban show got canceled. There's a lot bigger chance that's going to happen.
They better. That iron is still kind of hot. Carl Urban's still keen on it.
The good thing about Judge Dredd is that he's been going for it's real time, and he's been going for 50 years at least 50 years as a cop. Like, so it's even if Carl Urban ages, he could still play Judge Dredd as an older version of Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
that's the cool thing about Judge Dredd. He's always there.
And it could be, shit happened between the last movie and now, and it's probably the same.
Because that one was pretty. The technology was not too far in the future. You could go up the next level, like to almost like remember Fifth Element with all the different levels in Fifth Element. They could kind of do that. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember the movie.
When the actual New York, where it was like multiple levels to go down in the sewers, kind of. And the street level was really disgusting, and then higher up was nicer. And,
well,
anyways,
you can push it forward, and no one would say okay.
But still, Dredd is cool.
Yeah.
Once again, that's a great movie because they were smart and they went simple. Him in a block shooting bad guys. That's it. Super simple.
Someone knew what they were doing.
They didn't try to mush it up too much.
Lena Headey did a fantastic job.
As Mama. And that what's her name?
The sidekick that wanted to be.
What's her name? I can't remember her real name. Her name is Anderson, but I can't remember her name. It's something weird. Anyways,
Miss Anderson.
Judge Anderson. She has a first name.
Judge Anderson.
Dredd's first name's Joe. Joe Dredd.
Joe Dredd. Well, you could tell it was someone who knew what the movie was.
In there.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big blockbuster.
And an understanding of the character. Well,
there's not much to understand with Judge Dredd.
But there is.
I guess you could make... Yeah, I guess. You could do it. Obviously, they've done it wrong.
Well, yeah. We've had this discussion why this Dredd movie did bad. And it's because people went, oh...
They still remember how bad
Rob Schneider's going to be in it, right?
It's amazing. That's a long, long age to remember how bad that movie is.
You poison the well like that, and it lasts. Lead-ins are so vitally important.
But it's funny that you say that, but then for some reason the Alien franchise... Everybody thought it was poisoned when they did Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator 2. But then Prometheus came out and people were clamoring for it. And then that didn't so well. People are still clamoring for more Aliens, though.
People are clamoring for Ridley Scott.
I don't know. I think it's just the actual... Maybe it's just that creature is so well designed. Maybe that's why it works so well. But, yeah. They're going to do a Predators movie. It's going to be like a sequel. And it's going to be directed by Shane Black, who did Iron Man 3, but he also did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He was actually in the original Predator. He's the wacky guy with the glasses. The director was actually in the original movie Predator, and now he's going to direct Predator sequel.
Wow.
A sequel reboot kind of thing, starting the series again. It's kind of cool.
Well, someone understood when they made Dredd that it's not in that world. The ultra violence is every day, and Judge Dredd just goes and deals with it without fanfare, without, and it doesn't.
It's not like at the end everybody cheers for him. It's just just a day in the life.
And he's he's blasé about the whole thing. He's just and that's and it seems that's kind of weird. That's the way that character is.
That's awesome.
That's
they captured
the universe. It was captured perfectly, and you're right. It was not captured perfectly. Only to as an understatement. I'm going to say it was not captured perfectly
in the Sylvester Stallone movie.
No, not at all.
And that was like 20 years ago. That's the thing. Like people don't forget.
Well, you've now seen X-Men: the Days of Future Past, and you and I shat on
how bad it might
be. It's going to be. We said it'd be good if, and some of that stuff did pan out.
They perfectly melded the two worlds.
We said that's the best case scenario, and the reason we were all over
we also were like, hopefully Halle Berry's not in it that much, and she wasn't. So,
but the reason we were like that was even despite First Class,
it was X-Men United. Yeah, it burned.
We were still thinking about the shit show that was.
The thing with that
10
was
years ago.
The X-Men movies, they almost were like, yeah, we did bad one. Yeah, the Wolverine Origins wasn't good either. But here's First Class, here's the Wolverine. They were pretty good. Like, they put so many out there, just, like, pushed past it,
and that's the thing.
They're like, come on, you can do it, you can do it.
And the second Wolverine movie did not do well. And
it's because people remember the Wolverine Origins.
Because of Origins. Now that enough word of mouth comes out and says that Days of Future Past is good, and people go, okay, well, yeah.
They'll give the Wolverine a chance, and they'll...
First Class was good. This one apparently is really good. The next movie will be a big first weekend blockbuster movie again. They've reclaimed...
And if it's not good, they'll lose him again. But if it is good...
Right.
It's It's always a delicate balance. They have to realize what people want and not what they think that they want.
If you don't have a good lead-in for the movie before, you're going to suffer, and you have to regain the confidence of the.
I just think you have
public.
to write a good script once in a while and make it good, and not lowest common denominator. Because what they think the lowest common denominator is, those people don't go watch these kind of movies. The actual lowest common denominator is actually a little bit higher than that, so they screw it up. You know,
they dumb it down to the point where
sci-fi and superhero movies aren't your average stupid people who are going to go see Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, no one's going to see.
They're a little more intelligent. Maybe not so superhero, but definitely sci-fi.
They're going to see Grown Ups 3.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not there to see.
Or they're seeing 22 Jump Street or whatever else is out there.
Yeah, but
I can see the lowest common denominator in comedies, because that's maybe more aimed at that. But you should maybe have a little bit more respect for your audience when you're doing comics or sci-fi, or
because you can in a comedy if you.
Well, they've proven it with shows like Game of Thrones, and Lord of the Rings have proven that you can do high fantasy and like movies, sci-fi movies. They don't do well ever, but
treat the subject matter with some respect. Treat the audience with some dignity.
Sci-fi movies also are naturally expensive. That's the problem with sci-fi movies.
A comedy
comedies are cheap.
Comedies can be toilet humor, and they can be. There's a lot of leeway there, but you can't just go, okay, I'm making a superhero movie, and go, oh, we need a fart joke, I think.
Or we need Green Lantern, which is one giant fart joke, because it's so shitty. But that is movie aimed at lowest common denominator, Green Lantern. It's like they're like, well, they won't understand if we explain any of this, so we're just gonna muddle it up and not make sense. And
Ryan Reynolds was wasted.
Oh yeah, he was wasted as Hal Jordan, because once again it poisoned the well. You can't have Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern.
No, and he did a good job.
He was fine. He wasn't the problem.
He was
with that
not
movie.
the problem.
Well, like you say with the Conan movie too, Jason Momoa wasn't the problem. It was the script.
Yeah,
but you've poisoned the well again, and now it's going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan again.
Well, for acting wise, Ryan Reynolds did a good Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
I don't know how many people like. If you could go to a Jon Stewart now and people would go, okay, well it's Green Lantern, but it's different.
Nah, see, it's still got the name. Doesn't matter.
It's still, but the well is still poisoned on
Doesn't
that
matter, yeah.
because they foisted parallax, which is a modern day invention to fix
something that was
that was the patch to fix something they broke.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you add that when you're starting a franchise?
Movie, yeah.
Why would you add the slapdash correction?
That'd be like him fighting the Manhunters or something right off the bat. Like it's like some deep cut. It's like, well, no, just do an origin, people.
No, if you have to do an origin, which I say you don't.
Yeah.
Green Lantern,
Green
you might
Lantern,
have to do
kinda,
a little bit.
But you just have to have him find the ring, and then you can kind of fast forward.
15 minutes. 15 minutes of an origin.
The Flash proved that in a TV show you could do a 15-minute origin. You could do it in the movie.
And then go on to some high adventures of him learning the powers.
You didn't have to go to. I think the major mistake was going to Oa right off the bat. He should have been just like maybe Sinestro came to Earth and trained him on Earth, and then there is this thing called Oa, but he doesn't go there because that's you don't have to go there. And later on, you discover Oa, but they just kind of hoisted all this weird shit on you right away.
Yeah,
and it's like.
Spoonful after spoonful of this stuff that you didn't need in the first movie.
Yeah, for sure. It should have been a lot smaller. That's the key. They bite off too big of apples.
His first villain could have been like because you need the story arc, but you also need a protagonist and antagonist. His first villain could have been just another pilot who was a rival, and you're like, well, how is he a rival for? Well, because he's keeping his identity secret, so this guy can still show him up at all points in time, and even though he has this ring,
more of it's showing his willpower and control that he's not just going to cheat. And
he could have, I could just do.
Once again, there's 50 years worth of Green Lantern comics they could have gone to. Like those Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil comics in the 70s were gold. Like any of those would have made an amazing story.
Yeah. And then at the end of that movie, that Sinestro turns out to be bad. Like, shocker. Spoilers, Sinestro doesn't play fair.
Yeah.
His name's Sinestro.
Yeah. If you didn't know.
Yeah, he gets a little yellow, and I'm not doing race humor here. But it could have been a journey of discovery an origin, him getting used to his powers, him doing whatever, some personal issues, like actually build multiple characters with backstories and you get to emotionally attach to and stuff like that. Boom.
Flesh out his relationship with his girl.
Flesh out all those characters, and then at the end go, you know what? The next movie might get a little weird.
Yeah.
Might look a little weird.
Play it up.
Sinestro looked a little weird. There's a planet called Oa. And he's mentioned it, but next time
now you got to go to Oa because Sinestro's threatening it.
You might see it because that's but
this is slowly becoming a Jack and Rob Save Hollywood.
Yeah, but that's oh god.
Green Lantern, bad movie.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
Well, that solved nothing, but hopefully it was a little enjoyable.
We're sorry. See you next time.